Hello, book friends, and welcome back to the Sword of Truth podcast, the alcohol-fueled, chapter-by-chapter reread of the Sword of Truth series with a liver full of craft brew on the side. Hey, I have that too. I'm Nate.
And I'm Jade, and on this episode we are escaping into Chapter 17 of Blood of the Fold.
You sound pretty excited about that.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to be here.
I am too. You know what? Today was super long. Like, super long. Like, almost as long as the first 16 chapters of this book long.
Like Richard's Day?
It really felt that way. So I'm like, I got my drink, and we're about to get into this chapter, and I'm content right now.
Yes, happy place.
Yes.
Well, speaking of happy places, Toby and his little crew return to Nico Barisi Palace, which I guess is their little happy place in Aidendrill, which is now surrounded by several thousand Daharan soldiers. That's a lot of soldiers, by the way.
Yeah, when we talked about that before, I didn't really picture them doing, like, completely surrounding each of these palaces, because that's what they are. They are palaces. But I figured they'd have guys by every entrance.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. They flooded King's Row with soldiers.
Yeah.
So there is nowhere to go.
And I mean, his palace might be more heavily guarded than the other ones, but that means that each of them is, like, pretty, like, yeah, that's a lot of fucking Daharan soldiers in Aidendrill. I had no idea there were that many. Where are all those guys standing? I feel like there's not even room for that many people around a palace like that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think it depends on how big each of those palaces are. The Confessor's Palace, we know, is, like, the big one, right? Even the People's Palace, which is, like, a city, is smaller. Maybe not. What am I picturing? I think it's smaller height-wise.
You think
but
so?
The palace itself, yeah. No, I thought the Confessor's Palace was, like, the biggest one, right?
Maybe it is. I think in my head it's just, like, squat, like the White House or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's long, but not tall. In my head.
Well, I guess maybe just because it was up against the mountains, and I know it has spires.
Ah, yeah, okay.
So it goes super tall. I don't know. I think the point, though, is that all of the other palaces around that one are smaller because they're, like, stature.
Because they'd have to be.
Yeah, I mean, the Confessor's Palace is the main attraction. These are the guest houses.
Yeah.
Guest palaces. So maybe they are castle-like, but they're not huge, ginormous palace.
They're like McMansions compared to mansions.
Yeah.
Like little baby ones.
But even so, the soldiers aren't just guarding the doors. There's not a few guys on each property. These guys have flooded the street in between all of these McMansions.
Yes. I just, like, the term several thousand stood out to me, because I'm like, that's not a couple thousand. That's not, that's not.
That makes me think at least 12,000.
Yeah, that's not like several hundred. That's several thousand is a big statement. So they let Toby and his little crew in, they being the Daharans, but they tell them they better not fucking leave again tonight. You are in your palace, okay? Curfew has happened.
Well, there's, again, several thousand of you, so yeah, I think I'll stay. That's fine.
All right, sounds cool.
Mm-hmm.
Toby's not really happy about it. He's like, this is a serious breach of protocol, but he doesn't really care that much. He's got other shit to deal with. He's planning on going straight to see Ettore, the torturer, and Grandma Honey and Little Bun. He's confident that they're going to be ready to talk to him now because, this dude was more than qualified to handle this shit alone.
That's what he does.
Yeah, it's his first time flying solo, apparently, for some goddamn reason. They were like, yeah, today is the day. You're going to do this by yourself.
We're going to let him off the hook now with a super important witness.
Yeah, even though Lunetta, kind of warned us, yeah, we're confident this is totally going to be fine. So the room that the two of them are being held in, the questioning room, is down in the lower floors of the palace. Okay? Since there isn't any way out of the palace from down there, the halls are kind of empty of extra guards. There's not a whole bunch of people down there making sure. Plus, they're being tortured, right? What's the point of having extra guards to protect them down there, I guess? It seems a little thin to me. Like, you should still have some if you have prisoners down there, I would think.
Yeah, I think there's, again, those would be guards at doors on the way down. But once you enter a dungeon, there's an entrance door to the dungeon. Mm-hmm. So there's going to definitely be somebody there. But beyond that point, there may not have to be because all the other doors lock. specifically from one side.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. I think it just may speak to the Blood's actual belief that these people who are banelings, that they're labeling as banelings, their belief that they actually have any magic. If they really believed that, they would have more guards, right? Like, if you really think that you're questioning people who possibly are magic and that could hurt you, you wouldn't just send one guy in there to torture them.
Oh, you mean leave the torturer alone with people that have magic? Just because they're tied up, you assume that they're safe, and they're not? Yeah, I would definitely not just have one single person alone confronting people with magic. That seems foolish to me.
Yeah. Okay, so I know not all banelings have magic, but that was just a thought I had, like a little, woo! Okay, anyways. On the way down there, Lunetta is, like, super happy, the happiest we've seen her so far, because Toby said she did good for once. Like, he was really nice to her after that shit with the nipples, you know? She did a good job.
She cured them very nicely. Yes. So fucked up.
Once he arrives in the questioning room, after being so happy that everything's going great, he's, like, in a great mood, he sees Ettore, like, right in his face, hanging from a cord that is tied to either end of a pin driven through his ears. That took me a minute to fully process what that meant, but what that means is, like, there's, like, a rope hanging from something that is attached to a pin that he is hanging from, like, through his ears. You know what I mean? Like,
I think the way I see it, it would have to have happened like this. First, the spike is driven through his head.
Yes.
And then somebody takes a rope or the cord, ties it around either end of the spike, and then hoists him up with it.
Yeah.
Which...
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then they slit his neck, skinned his entire body, which I think any of those things would be enough to, like, incapacitate the man. You didn't have to keep going.
He was done way before this. This is all for show.
Yeah.
This is very Silence of the Lambs Hannibal Lecter-esque when he hangs the guy on the cage.
Oh, yeah.
Just for shits and giggles.
Yeah, it takes the faces and does all that shit.
It's all about theatrics. They want to get the reaction.
Well, the biggest reaction that happens is after he sees a liver on the floor with bites taken out of both sides. One side has sets that are, like, larger and irregular, and the other side have little perfect teeth marks.
Of teeth marks, yeah.
Yeah, so it's the Grandma, Honey, and Little Bud. They both were eating it. The liver.
I'm just... Wow. At least did they have a little bottle of Chianti? With some fava beans?
I hope so, because otherwise the image in my head is very feral. Like,
well, they took
squatting
all
on
the time
floor
to do this. I would just like to think that they, we know they eat it raw, but maybe they set up a table, you know, with a nice little candle, and they took it, and they were like, yeah, well, let's have dinner.
Might as well.
It's the only piece they've gotten all day today so far. So, finally, that motherfucker shut up.
Yes. So, Toby, at this, gets mad at Lunetta. He turns around and he hits her, and she goes fucking flying. He blames all of this on her not staying. Like an asshole. Then he turns to the dead person, and he's pissed at him, too, because he let the Baneling go. And he ends up punching him in the face.
The dead guy. Oh.
He's, like, going completely off the rails.
Oh.
He tells the dead person that his name is going to be taken off the rosters, and he is completely disgraced, and somehow, I don't think Ettore cares anymore.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I just... Anybody else in the room, once you punch a dead guy, even if you're a monster, I feel like I would have been super uncomfortable.
Especially with the body hanging like that. Like, I feel like...
Yeah.
Man.
I think, just maybe, he has suffered enough for one day.
He paid, okay?
Yeah, talk about paying dues. He's got his covered, for sure.
So, Lunetta actually stands up for herself, and I was actually, like, really happy about this, that she didn't just sit and cower in the corner and go, yes, it's all my fault. She was like, more than once, I told you I should stay here, and you fucking told me I had to go. So, she doesn't explicitly say that it's his
It's
fault.
his fault.
But
Yeah.
she kind of does. And
Yeah.
I was like, hell yeah, girl. You should say that a lot louder. Fuck him.
I love how she's like, I said it more than once.
Yeah.
You know that I said this more than once.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that I told you so, but I told you so.
Fucker.
More than once.
Toby then sends Galtero to go get the horses ready because it's time to go.
Yeah, he ignores it. He doesn't say
Yeah.
anything. He just pivots away and is like, whatever.
Yeah, we can't acknowledge my wrongdoings here. Why would we?
But suddenly, he's not smacking her anymore either.
No.
So maybe it did register. He's like, oh, well.
Moving on.
Yeah.
He says there's no use spending time looking for the Baneling right now. Yeah, he would like to kill her, but they have other shit to do right now.
Yeah, probably just best to cut our losses and get going. We have what we need.
Yeah.
So it's almost funny, like, had they not put up a fight, they would have been killed. But Toby already has what he needs. So they would have for sure been killed for nothing. So the fact that they got away is the only testament to, like, fighting off your attacker, because they would have died for nothing for sure.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, he probably would have tortured them, and who knows what else she would have said, because we know that Grandma Honey has some other shit in her head, and obviously Toby thought she did too, but yeah, no, I think you're right.
You know who has less stuff in his head right now? Ettore.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah.
Except that extra
Actually,
spike.
Yeah.
He's less some brains and more some spike.
Yeah. Well. Toby decides that with a storm coming, only 3 of them are going to go to wherever he wants to go because they have a better chance to slip away if they do that. If the whole fist... why are they called the fist? I don't understand that.
I believe a fist is 500 men.
Oh, okay. All right, that makes sense then. So if they all go, they wouldn't be able to get by the Daharans. They're badasses. It would be a bad situation. So only the 3 of them are going to go. But for a minute, he, like, strongly considers killing Lunetta right then, because he's had enough of her shit, and he thinks this is all her fault still, even though she said that to him. But he decides against it.
Yeah, it's just very clearly laying out that his thought process is not based in logic at all. He's just mad because shit's not going his way, and the first person he sees is the person he's going to blame, which is her.
Yeah, and she has magic, which he hates, so double fuck her.
Yeah, pretty much. You exist and I'm angry.
On his way out of the room, Gale grabs a cudgel before leaving, knowing that it is...
No, you said it right. I'm sorry. I just repeated it because...
It's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he knows it's unlikely that Grandma Honey's going to be found, but if she is found, he has to bring her back in alive. So he can't, like, take a knife or a sword or anything. He's got to take something to knock her over the head with, so she can be questioned before, paying the ultimate price that she deserves.
So I looked up a cudgel, and it wasn't what I thought it was. Jade explained it like a caveman's club, and that is exactly what it is. It's a big club.
Mm-hmm.
But I was curious because Grandma Honey, I'm assuming it was her. Maybe it was the little one. I don't know. But the spike that was shoved through his head, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those spikes are used to build medieval cudgels. They take this big wooden club made out of knotwood, and then they jam the spikes through them and cut them off. And then they grind it down so that the wood has metal chunks in it, not like a spike or anything sharp. It's just got metal in it that weighs down the end of it.
Oh.
And then some of them have like corners and little shapes in them.
Fancy.
But they're like devastating. I would not like to get hit with one, even a little bit, even a glancing blow on like an arm. No, thank you.
Yeah, well, that doesn't sound much safer than a sword. I mean, you're gonna get cut with a sword, obviously, but, I mean, blunt trauma to your head is bad for a lot of people.
For anybody, I might argue.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, some people more than others are gonna, like, can't handle